So, in the midst of deranged leftism, where we got the left protesting in favor of a global intifada and just mass rejection of all objective moral frameworks, we have the continued, at this point, it's beyond dangerous, I'm going to call it deadly, representation of identity politics portrayed as virtue when it's actually counterfeit virtue. So, here we have this video where it's interesting, it's important to watch the left-wing propaganda surrounding basically the propaganda that they consume. And when I say they, I'm talking about the people on the other side of the thinking wall, the people on the other side of the free speech wall, the people on the other side of the individuality first wall, the people that hate America, the people that are communists, the people that are nihilistic, the people that are postmodern neo-Marxists, the people that don't wash their hair, and they're perpetually enraged by embodiments of physical impressiveness, such as Andrew Tate or Elon Musk. It's important to see the type of propaganda that they consume. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. Because this video, published by MSNBC, has gotten 66,000 views in 1 hour. So obviously a lot of leftists are clicking on it. Notice also the thumbnail that they do. They always have the terrible artists portray Trump. And keep in mind how voraciously they work to undermine him, while when he's in New York, he's actually extremely beloved and just humiliating the radical left, because when he walks out of the courthouse, people roar with applause. When he goes to the bodega to basically do a campaign rally, he's beloved by everybody. Everybody admits in New York that the trial's a sham. So at this point, this propaganda is not really about convincing anybody of anything. It's just about maintaining a lie. And that, guys, is dangerous, because that's a tyranny. Maintaining a lie is called tyranny.
I'm going to start with the big statement from the judge today, telling defendant Trump, you lost, you violated the gag order, you must take the stuff down.
There it is. So you see how desperate they are.
And the worst could be yet to come.
Bro, this is hilarious. This is so funny. You can see why mainstream media is dying.
The judge just issued a ruling on gag order violations, finding Trump in contempt.
They are threatening to throw the Republican nominee for president in jail for talking, Harris.
He was...
Yeah. The left is openly totalitarian. Most of America understands that. They are increasing their totalitarian measures.
Only ordered to not speak about witnesses, jurors, court personnel, or their families.
He says, in part, that this was...
So when Trump went to the bodega and actually refrained from talking about the case, when he was asked point blank about the case multiple times, he said, we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. But just the fact that people around him agreed with him and knew that it was a sham infuriates them. It humiliates them. They become enraged when they see that people are willing to disregard their dictates, which say, if you disagree with us, you're automatically a bad person.
A willful violation by Donald Trump.
I could see the side of the defendant's face as he kind of watched it. He largely looked composed or even nonplussed at times.
Threatened the former president with actual jail time if he violates...
Yay, threatening Orange Man with jail time because he's bad and he's a part of the wrong ideology. See, this is the reason why they're so dangerous. Because you become a non-person once you disagree with their ideology. This is how the most bloodthirsty ideologies all took place in history. Except none of them are as dangerous as this, because here they wear the guise of virtue, of weakness, of inclusivity and compassion, while only desiring to wield power and wielding power, while being physically deformed and virtueless.
Legally, the defendant, in this case Donald Trump...
Notice how they're saying the defendant rather than Trump so that they can try to pretend as though this is how they would treat any person. But that's not correct. They are deliberately politically persecuting him in particular.
...is not in control of any part. Legally, the defendant, in this case Donald Trump, is not in control of any part of these proceedings.
Bro, notice how, again, desperate they are to construe everything in terms of power disparities.
The judge is the individual in our government process at this point in a trial who determines both.
And they're talking down to people as if the general populace is going to listen to MSNBC to form their opinions. These people are inhabiting the very essence of leftist narcissism.
What constitutes violating the gag order and what the punishment can be if he does it again. Now, what you have here was 9 violations.
They're trying to treat him like a child. Meanwhile, he's an alpha male billionaire, beloved even in the state he's being politically persecuted in, and leading the current president in the polls by a tremendous margin. Oh, did I mention that he lives in a palace with a supermodel? These people live such deformed lives that they try to invert reality by pretending as though they're above him. But, of course, they are literally worse than him in every way. But this is what you see with leftists, is they like to pretend as though they are somehow better than those they disagree with, while having not showered in weeks and being physically deformed and resentful of anyone else's success, while demonizing capitalism and then even the concept of better and worse, as well as success and failure, in their alignment with postmodern neo-Marxism.
It's primarily from online posts that were flagged by the DA and reviewed by the judge. It's $9,000. But the real threat is what was said today. If Trump continues to attack witnesses or violate...
Oh, yeah, his net worth went up by, what was it, $6 billion, $5 billion? I don't know if he cares about a $9,000 fine.
He just won't tolerate willful violations of the lawful orders, and if necessary, will impose a, quote, incarceratory punishment.
Bro, I hope that happens, because it would just accelerate the exchange of power, if you know what I'm saying. But also, I wonder how that would work with the Secret Service. And since he's literally the most popular person in America in terms of the polls, like he's more popular than Biden is, I think that that could be a very interesting outcome, if you know what I'm saying.
You can tell from the root word there, incarcerate or incarceration. I have the same document. We put the quote up there for you. That's in here. That's the one part. I mean, the whole thing is much longer, and we saw the lawyers sort of scurry out of the room and review it, as you'd expect. But it's that word, incarceratory, incarceration, that got everyone's attention. And the defendant knows what that means. He heard that. And in a sign of compliance, as I mentioned, the Trump team swiftly took down past online posts that the judge deemed violated
Notice how obsessed with power that they are. It's the Marxist motif.
Order today. That occurred also during the morning break.
We're dealing with tyrants for sure.
Now, prosecutors called a witness from C-SPAN today to confirm that basically the videos of Trump that they showed to the jury today were valid. So the jurors could see from all of this that it was a big issue back in 2016 that Trump was facing these allegations from women and about relationships. And you have to remember, and I was thinking about this in the room watching these jurors who were all looked like New Yorkers with their notes out and they're paying attention, but to the best of my ability, I can't tell you that they looked like super political junkie nerds, because people are busy living their lives, and this is 8 years back. So
they're trying to condition people to believe that the jurors are unbiased. Of course, the jurors are definitely biased one way or the other, because everything is politicized in today's world. It is repeatedly hilarious every single time they try to assert themselves as virtuous or authoritative, because they're both weak and reprehensible, as well as mentally broken.
I have no idea who these women are. These are lies being pushed by the media and the Clinton campaign to try and keep their grip on our country. They are all false. They're totally invented, fiction.
Every woman lied when they came forward to hurt my campaign. The events never happened. Never.
Yeah, everyone knows this. Everyone knows that the left just makes things up, because they use the same psyop methods with Andrew Tate, with everyone else. They even try it with Russell Brand. I mean, they try it with anybody that they can't control, and that's because any person that disagrees with left-wing ideology is depersoned.
These liars will be sued after the election is over. Michael Cohen is a very talented lawyer. He's a good lawyer.
that's just some of what was played. The second to last clip there that the jurors heard is late October 16. So again, if you're just a regular citizen who's not obsessed with this stuff, you might not know that in late October 16...
Bro, this is such a sham trial. It's so crazy to think that in New York, just randomly, in this geographical location that has nothing to do with anything, besides it's just infected with a bunch of people that hate reality, that they're exercising open tyranny. It's disgusting.
It was a big enough issue that it was coming up day after day that the candidate was talking about it. The Access Hollywood tape connected not only to what he said on that tape, you might remember that.
You can tell that there is a tyranny being pushed by the left when every single thing that they do is lie, because that is the mark of a tyranny where everything has to be a lie all the time, and that's what they do. They invert truth. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to play MSNBC or CNN on a news channel that the jurors have access to, whether or not they're tracking like where they go to eat, like their favorite diner, or maybe in the hallway there's a TV, or maybe across the street there's a billboard. You know, it's New York, so there's a lot of screens, and I definitely think that they're trying to contaminate. Well, they're trying to do any damage that they can. The truth has nothing to do with their motives, unfortunately. If you look at the graphs in terms of where people are getting news, my generation and even people up to 40, 45 years old are getting news on the internet through X rather than this. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Even a 12-minute long video for news is extremely antiquated. You can see why they're worried about losing power. Because they can no longer program people with this programming.
Dougal story, but remember, to share, to publish, to broadcast her story if they got it, because ABC is a traditional news network. Not so much the Inquirer when they're doing what
ABC's traditional. It's like this is a propaganda broadcast from the Hunger Games or something.
Assumed innocent, the burden's on the prosecution, but they're trying to meet that burden.
He's not assumed innocent because it started with him being told that he was guilty, as you said at the beginning of this video. I understand that the people that watch this unironically don't really have strong recall skills, but wow,
stacking up
embarrassing.
All these different people saying, duh, this was about the campaign. It wasn't about some private...
It's interesting how we have news organizations making arguments in replacement of lawyers. That's kind of odd, where you saw the same thing with Alex Jones. He was told that he was guilty at the start, and then not only did the lawyers say, we should make an example of him so that people who agree with him don't speak out, but then the media started making the arguments as well. So you have the corporate media, the legacy media, the dying media, as a co-opted arm of the left-wing communist government. And then you have people ingesting information freely by the hundreds of millions on X. This is the nature of the war going on, guys. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Sometimes you got to look at the propaganda that the enemy's putting out so that you can analyze the architecture of their degeneracy and lies to see where the next step is going to be, to see where they're going to put their foot next. It's like a game of chess. You have to analyze what's coming next so that you stay ahead.